Hello and welcome to the Candid Cashflow podcast, episode 62. I'm your host, Ava Fales. Welcome back, everybody. If you're new around here and you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the Candid Cashflow podcast at candidcashflow.com/subscribe. And if you're in a hurry, you can grab the show notes for this episode in PDF format at candidcashflow.com/episode 62. And finally, for housekeeping here, folks, you can grab my daily emails. I send out daily emails chock full of great content to my email list, and you can see what other people are saying about that and subscribe yourself at candidcashflow.com/email. So what are we talking about this week? Can your business be deplatformed? So you're online, you have a YouTube channel, you have an Instagram account, you have a blog that does well. Something. Can you be deplatformed in your business? This is the reason that I say all that stuff at the beginning about the subscribing and the emails and whatnot, is because, you know, if my business were to be deplatformed, my podcast or whatever, then you guys have those links up there. You know, that's where you can find me if you can't find me anywhere else. And that may have been what you've been doing the last few weeks, because I think it's been a month tomorrow since I put out the last episode 61 of the Candid Cashflow podcast, because I've been sick, for one thing. No, it's not the coronavirus. I don't think. I haven't run a fever, but I had like the worst cold in the history of man. Like, no cold. I went to the store and I spent, no lie, like $77, okay, on cold medication, and none of it worked. So, I couldn't even sleep in my bed. I think I spent about 5 or 6 nights sleeping in my recliner, because when I lay down, I could not breathe through my nose at all. And I'm not really like a mouth open sleeper. So it was a mess. So I've been sick. There's been this whole COVID-19 thing going around. The world's just in chaos, and I don't care who you are, that affects you. You know, when something like that's happening in the world, it just automatically affects whatever it is that you're doing. So, you know, between the sick, and y'all know I take care of my parents, and just everything, even the best of us get overwhelmed at times. So, moving on. So, let's jump into the quick answer here about business deplatforming. So, if your business relies on any single platform like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, for the majority of your revenue, then you can certainly be deplatformed. In the last couple of years, there's been kind of an unspoken purging that's been happening online, specifically on YouTube, and it all started with the deplatforming of a dude called Alex Jones. Now, I'm not a fan or a follower of Alex Jones. I used to follow his early stuff, but then he just got too crazy for me. But I am a fan and an advocate for the First Amendment and free speech. So when multiple platforms decided to ban Alex Jones in a concerted effort, that was kind of alarming to me. You know, Alex, he disappeared online everywhere except his own websites. So that means that YouTube, Apple, Twitter, Facebook, all in a concerted effort decided on the same day that Alex Jones was done on their platforms. So following that, YouTube began to purge all of the conspiracy theory, type related conspiracy theorists related content from their platform. Then Amazon jumped on board and they began purging like health niche books like related to, home remedies or other homeopathic information, they decided, unilaterally that stuff wasn't going to be allowed on their platform. And then, more recently, Slate.com, and I'll put in a link to this in the corresponding blog post and show notes. Slate.com did an article recently on all of the coronavirus-based books that have flooded Amazon. So, those will soon meet their fate. So think about it. YouTube channels, Twitter feeds, Facebook groups, none of that is yours. All of that belongs to the site, the respective platform that it's hosted on, and they are the ones that ultimately decide who lives and dies on those platforms. So, I noticed also in the midst of all of this coronavirus COVID-19 stuff that Facebook at one point had stopped, allowing any articles about that topic to show on their platform at all. And then I believe they relented after the fact so that people could at least get some kind of information. But initially they started limiting, not including that stuff in their algorithms and whatnot. So, these snap choices that these platforms are allowed to make, are fully in their realm of rights to do. But the problem is that these platforms have come forth and publicized and marketed themselves to the point that they become the industry standard. So we've got YouTube, which is the industry standard for video creators. We have Twitter, which is the industry standard for microblogging, for, being able to send out those short messages, with a link or, video, image, whatever, to your followers. All of these platforms, they've established themselves as those standards in their industry. And, so they have a huge number of people that are using them. And it becomes to a point where you could almost guarantee that, so-and-so's on Facebook and things like that. So that becomes the problem in and of itself, is that these platforms become the standard, and then once you start utilizing that platform and they decide they don't like what you're saying, then they make a unilateral decision to shut you up. And then, it's an attack on free speech at that point. Just because, one person cannot decide whether, you're allowed to have your say or not. That's just not how it works. One platform can't decide that, or should not be able to decide that in a society where we have free speech. And it's a problem. So, aside from that, I know people who put massive, and I mean full-time tons of work into YouTube and things like that, and it only takes that split second for them to take it all away, take it all down, and then you're done. And if that is your sole source of revenue in your online business, and you haven't backed yourself up with an email list or a website or something that you own outright, then you're done until you manage to create a new audience. So how can you prevent yourself from getting deplatformed? Well, first of all, it's just like it's like I just mentioned. Have a website, have a corner of the internet that you own outright that's yours. Second, and a very close second, is to have an email list. You can be deplatformed from your email marketing service, but if you own your list, you still have every right to email the people that have opted in to receive your email. So you simply move to a new platform. Third, diversify your platforms. If you're on YouTube, if your shtick is videos, find out other video sites where you can upload your content. There's plenty of them out there. What I'll do is as bonus content for this episode of the Candid Cashflow podcast is I will put out a list of platforms where you can use to diversify. So if you're on YouTube, I'll create a list of video platforms. If, Twitter is your thing, we'll have some, Twitter alternatives and that kind of thing. Aside from, website, email list, and diversifying your platforms, use your platforms to send traffic to your website and email capture form. Consider making your website the hub of whatever it is that you're doing rather than, say, a Facebook group. You can always set up a membership site on your website and things like that. So consider ways that you can utilize your website to retain your traffic. I mean, you've worked hard to get that traffic to your website. You might as well have a way there to retain that traffic to your own website. So, but yes, absolutely use all of the platforms, all of the social media platforms and whatnot that are out there for you to use. Definitely use those to send traffic to your website and your email capture form. So as far as email marketing and your email marketing service, I always recommend MailChimp. First of all, because it's free. And once you figure out how to use it, it's fairly easy to use. If you're strapped for cash, like I said, it's free for your first 2,000 subscribers, which is a nice chunk. You could easily make a full-time business and income out of 2,000 email subscribers. So even if you're not strapped for cash, I'm still going to recommend MailChimp to get you started. That way you're not right out of the gate affecting your bottom line with, an expense from your email marketing service. And if you're a person that is kind of slow or drags your feet on things, you're not going to be, have that output month after month where you're paying for something. You've got MailChimp, it'll just sit there until you've acquired 2,000 subscribers. Whatever service you choose, though, if you have an aversion to MailChimp because of something you read or whatever, whatever service you choose, make sure that it has an export feature so that you can export your list from that service. So you can download it, back it up, and ultimately move it anytime that you need to or want to. So if you outgrow MailChimp or you want something that has more features, you have that export option where you can move. So that's going to cover things as far as what email marketing service that you use. Because I definitely recommend that your email list should be the first asset that you build for your business, even prior to having a website. And so MailChimp has landing pages where you can send traffic prior to your website becoming available. So, for example, if you're a book author and you've put your front matter in your books and whatnot, you have the option where you can put a link to your MailChimp landing page and still start building your list even prior to having a website. So any effort, that you put into your web properties that you do not own, that can be lost, but you can take steps to lessen the blow and retain communication with your readers and your audience should you get deplatformed. But your first line and main line of defense against being deplatformed is going to be your email list, hands down. So that's going to do it for this episode number 62 of the Candid Cashflow podcast. I'm so happy that you joined me. It's always a pleasure to take a pause in my day and record this podcast for y'all to help you build your business online. So listen, remember that I always release a new episode on Wednesdays when I'm not sick or there's not chaos because of a worldwide pandemic. I always release new episodes each Wednesday. Until next time, turning your passion into cash flow.